Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tutoring YouTube channel. My name is TL and I'm one of the many tutors here that offer free tutoring to people in need across the world. In order to apply, please click the link in our description and fill out the form. Today I'm going to be covering SAT-2 Math Level 2. This test is an optional test, but some colleges may require it for certain programs. I have this collection of 4 questions that will cover various different topics on the exam, so let's begin. Now, the first question is asking us about distance. I always like to underline things that I find important, such as these coordinates that I'm going to be using to calculate the distance. Now, notice that these coordinates have 3 numbers in them. So that means that they're x, y, and z coordinates, not just the regular x, y coordinates that you see in other math classes. So recall from geometry that the distance formula for an xy coordinate would be x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now, in order to do the same for x, y, and z coordinate, you just have to add that z term into it. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And now you have that z term, so z2 minus z1 squared. So all we're changing is that z portion over here. That's all we're adding because we have 3 numbers in our coordinate. So now this will be our second coordinate and this will be our first coordinate, just because I like to go in the order that they present us, just so I don't get confused. So x will be represented by this number. So let me just rewrite that: x, y, z, x, y, and z. So now you just basically plug in the numbers. So x2 would be this one. So remember the square root. So that'd be 2 minus 3 minus negative 3, minus negative 3. And that turns to a positive because subtracting a negative number is the same as adding that number. y2 would be negative 1 minus 6. And lastly, 4 minus 7 squared. So to simplify that, that'd be the radical 5 squared plus negative 7, I like to put parentheses around it, squared, plus 3 squared. And if we go back up here, we do the math, that would be a 25 plus 49, because negative times a negative will become a positive. So 7 squared is 49, and the sign becomes positive. And we have that 9. So 25 plus 49 plus 9, that is 83. So we have the square root of 83 as our answer. Now let's plug that into our calculator. Radical 83. And that'd be 9.11. So here's our answer. Now let's go to the second question. If f of x is 3x plus 12 over 2x minus 12, what value does f of x approach as x get infinitely larger? Now this is a limit question if you have some background in calculus, but you can still solve it without calculus. So we have to imagine that x goes towards infinity. So x is getting bigger and bigger. So if we rewrite this down here, and if we we want to remove this x from 3 over 2. So if we multiply by 1 over x or divide by x on both the numerator and the denominator, nope, that's the same thing. We will get, just distribute them across, that'd be 3 plus 12 over x, 2 minus 12 over x. Now, if x grows bigger, this number will get smaller. Why? Because x is in the denominator. If you're dividing by a bigger number, you'll get a smaller quotient. So as x goes to infinity, it becomes this huge number. So we could almost assume that's going to be 0. And that leads us to 3 over 2. Or another way you could have done it is 3x plus 12, 2x minus 12. these constants are not going to change, so they're insignificant to us. We pretty much just cross them out because these are the ones we're worried about, the ones with the x's, because they're the ones that are going towards infinity, and that would have the biggest impact on our number, on our f of x. So once we cross out the constants, we don't worry about the constants, we get 3x over 2x, and we could just cross out these x's, and we also get 3 over 2. So there's the second way you could have done it, and let's move on to the next question. If x minus 2 is a factor of this expression, then k is equal to what? So if we write x minus 2, that is a factor. So if we set that equal to 0, and then bring that over, is a root. X is equal to 2 is a root. So we know that the definition of root is when the y value is equal to 0, because a root is when the graph intersects the x-axis. So this would be the root when the y value is 0. So we set the original equation equal to 0, and we plug in x is equal to 2, since we know it's a root. So that'd be 8 let me just write everything out. Ooh. Minus 8 equals 0. Now we just multiply everything out. That'd be 8, that'd be 4k plus 24 minus 8, so these 8's cross out. And 4k plus 24 is equal to 0. Now we move that 24 to the other side. 4k is equal to negative 24, and k is equal to negative 6 once we divide it out. So A is the answer. Now, the next question deals with interest. So we are talking about annual interest. So that is simple. Interest is compounded annually. So 500 initial, and what are we looking for? 1,000 goal. And we're pretty much looking for how many years it will take for the amount to double. How many years it will take to go from 500 to 1,000. So the formula for interest is y is equal to a 1 plus r over x, to the power of x, not over x. And x is the time, and r is the rate. And a is principal, x is time. So in order to reach this goal, in order to solve for the time, we need goal. So we should plug that goal into y. That's the amount we are looking to get. 500 is the initial. 1 plus, now what's r? It says 5% interest. So 5% can also be written as 0.05 as decimal form. So that's what we're going to use as r, because that's how much the money is being compounded annually. So what we get when we fully simplify is 500 1.05 to the x power. And let's divide this 500 out. So we get this 2 1.05 to the x power. Now, in order to simplify this, we need to take the ln. So we take the ln of both sides, ln of 2, ln 1 point times x. So how we did this was, in order to bring this exponent down, we just take the ln, or log. And that's how you solve for x's and exponents. Now, in order to separate x by itself, we need to divide this over. So ln of 2 will be up top, ln 1.05 will be on the bottom, and on the SAT2 you have a calculator, so that's what I'm going to use now. I'm going to use a Desmos. So we have a fraction, and we also have some ln's. Okay, so ln on bottom is going to be 1.05, and ln of 2 will be up top. And now we get 14.2. 14.2 years. However, we don't have 0.2 of a year. So in order to find the correct answer, we must round up. So yeah, that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, please let us know through YouTube or our social media down below, and have a good day.